The book of Revelation is rather similar to the crucifixion story. The crucifixion story draws attention to the teaching, the teacher, and the teaching, the story. It's very vivid and can be remembered. Likewise, the Revelation story is utterly vivid. It's a Hollywood production in a sense. It draws attention, it stays in the mind, it's remembered forever. But its spiritual meaning is conversion. It's what goes on internally, spiritually in the person. There's mayhem goes on, he destroys whole aspects of his person as he becomes enlightened, converted, born again. He slays the old man, his relatives that he's been with, his family, in the spiritual realm within himself. And the throne, God is put on the throne. He dwells within you, just as prayed by Jesus in the story. Jesus indicates that the Father is enthroned within us. The kingdom of heaven's within. Doesn't come with observation, say lo here or there or when it shall happen. It happens to the individual. It's the whole purpose of the universe being here. It is our graduation, being born again into the spiritual realm. And we spend any more time here on earth developing accordingly that character fit for heaven. Well, the next stage anyway. But to expect the revelation to be literal on earth is to foolishly misunderstand that it's a story. It's a New Testament story. It's dressed as an Old Testament obsession with the nation. The fabled Israel and this buffer state becoming the ruling nation of the millennium. And signs in heaven and wonders and so on and so forth. And the actual day of judgment comes, like a thief in the night. It's by surprise. Suddenly it's, and you've seen the light. It's conversion. It's an horrific book so that the world would notice it and remember it. So it will always be there to teach them, to tell them. This is what your conversion is like. Mayhem goes on within you, and then suddenly the judgment comes. All the rubbish is cleared out, and you're into a millennium, a new era, fullness of life. I'm come that you might have life, and have it more abundantly. And this is life to know Thee, the only true God, dwelling within you. Wow. The purity that brings to your whole being. Destroys all those harmful aspects you had within you before. You're cleansed wonderfully. Thank you, Dad. Now, I don't know, but the 24 elders may well refer to the vertebrae in the spine that basically are the spinal column of the nervous system in the body. Because when you're fully in worship and prostrate on the floor, the elders, if you like, fall face down on the floor. The body is flat down towards the altar. And the the exhilaration, the rapture that one feels, the electrical impulse in the back, in the spine, that sort of feeling that makes your hair stand on end with absolute elevating music and so on. Perhaps you experienced it that way. But you experience it in worship and in great moments of experiencing the presence of God. The four beasts, I'm not sure whether they're the limbs of the body or if they refer to, in some sense, solids, liquids, gases, and, energy, like fire, That which makes up the body is in full worship, in full obeisance to that worship. I don't know if you've experienced full worship where you're possibly prostrate on the floor, as we cast our crowns before you, lost in wonder, love, and is it grace? I can't remember. It's a graphic illustration, explanation of the exhilaration, the crescendo of adoration and worship, rapture, in fact. If you're not converted and you haven't experienced it, if you like, what they call the baptism of the Holy Spirit, if you haven't experienced it, then of course you're left with a literal interpretation of the revelation as being something that's going to happen in the physical world to physical Israel, and these horrendous plagues and angels that look, pretty horrific, really. The worst thing that's ever happened on earth. You see, from a secular point of view, conversion is the worst thing that could happen to you. You're going to lose all the stuff you value for something that you don't value. You'd rather actually say God doesn't exist. Or worse, you worship a God that's not the true God, not a God of love, but a God of, say, violence and obedience and judgment and awe-inspiring, but not of beauty and love and kindness, gentleness. In other words, you're left with a pagan God instead of Jesus' God, Father, Dad. And that might not appeal to the person who hungers and thirsts after everything the world can offer, the freedom of it. So that the revelation is seen as absolute mayhem, anything but what he wants. Doesn't want all these goodies destroyed, and certainly doesn't want what's she called? The harlot that he flirts with, destroyed. It's the last thing he wants. That's what he values. I'm not Catholic, but the rebellious church of the Protestant Reformation is marked by introducing your priests marrying. In other words, it was a church, an adulterous church that ran after that which was forbidden in the garden, the sexual act. God didn't produce us by sexual act. He produced us by his will. He brought us into being, formed, according to the Genesis story, dust of the earth, and he breathes life into it. Doesn't make love to a maiden. And therefore his children should procreate the same way, because there's no way we can do that. We do it in the animal way. We have descended to the level of beasts, you see. I mean, I can talk. I've got 3 children. And I didn't, have them birthed by immaculate conception. But you get the drift of what I mean, don't you? I don't mean I understand it all, although I've got all the details right, but quite simply, I can't love a God that goes around wiping everybody out. Whether it's all but 8 people on the earth with a flood, or a third part of the planet in Revelation. It's just not on. It has to mean something spiritual and wonderful, not something garish and grotesque, which will anchor it in secular man's culture for thousands of years, so that the truth is always available for him when he has eyes to see. In other words, when the Holy Spirit reveals it to him. And we have to say that the Holy Spirit has not revealed it to most of the church, which is hardly surprising given the church's track record of rift and division and sacrilegious acts in society, including the acquisition of land and wealth and corruption in every corner, it seems, such that Pope or pagan both seem equally appalling giants of corruption. John Bunyan's view. So the first coming is the story of Jesus. And the second coming is the story of the Revelation. The beginning of the Gospels and the end of the New Testament is the Revelation. And that's the whole of the matter. It's talking about you. God is interested in you. He's not interested in some church or some nation or some people. He's interested in the individual. This is a school. You come in and you graduate. You receive the story, that's the first coming. And you graduate, that's the second coming. And God comes into your life. You're converted. The story, the teaching is effective. And from then on, God rules. Well, everything starts to be put right then, doesn't it? But it's that period of time that this universe is about for us, God's children. I mean, quite wonderful. And these 2 pageant stories, the crucifixion and the Revelation, the horrors of the Jesus story is the crucifixion, and the horrors of Revelation are, it starts with a discourse on the state of the 7 churches, and then it puts them right. What are these 7 churches? I mean, I don't know. But each one seems to apply to us. Not that just one of them in particular, but each. Let me have a go a second. The first one, integrity. The very foundation is integrity, isn't it? Without integrity, you can't build anything. God is integrity. Utter integrity. The next is creativity. If there's nothing created, well, we haven't got anything, have we? Creativity. Everything. You need birth. I mean, you need creativity. The next is plenty, prosperity, shalom, peace, satisfaction. Not fear, dread, hunger. Yeah, in other words, the third is prosperity in some sense. The fourth has to be love, doesn't it? The heart. What we think of as the centre of emotion, and what the ancients thought was the centre of thought, we've shifted it to the head. But, the heart the physical heart is actually made up of something crazy, like 67% neurons. The stuff of the brain, mind stuff. The heart seems to give us the emotions that set the background picture of our thinking, not the detail of our thoughts so much. That seems to be done by the brain. And what's above the heart? We sing praises. It's the throat, isn't it? Another centre. We sing praise. We speak truth. I mean, ideally. Life flows through the throat, doesn't it? It makes it sing. We sing for joy of life, you see? And truth. And then there's the brain. I don't know what you call it. Yeah, the brain. I suppose we feel it's intimately associated with hearing and seeing. Something to do with understanding thought. How many have we got? Hang on. We've got 6. Oh, we need 7, don't we? Well, how about the crown, the glory? The light. If you like, on those pictures of saints, the nimbus, the Shekinah, the glory, the halo, aura, if you like. The crown. How about the crown? The crown. The hair. They're the 7 churches, aren't they? That need to, in some sense, come together in worship. You got the 24 elders. The spinal column, if you like. That seems to be... Do you know there's loads of neurons in that as well? That seems to be a thinking channel. It's all thought, isn't it? You see, even integrity, I say even, but things like magnetism and gravity hold the physical world together. Without them, we could build nothing at all. Nothing would exist. No matter would hold together. Creativity we think of as building. You put things together and they hold together. You anchor them into a certain form and shape. In fact, integrity is, in a sense, the essence, the essential of each of the 7 churches that we've listed. Right, I mean, the mind has to be constant. I mean, a man who's fickle and keeps changing his mind, he doesn't achieve anything, does he? You can't rely on him. the voice and the words, the language spoken, I mean, they have to all hang together. They have to make sense. And, they can't be random words just thrown in a soup mix. In some sense, each church, each faculty of the body has to be reliably worshipping God. The whole body, in a sense, makes up the throne, which God honours by entering, by dwelling in us. He comes and takes his place on the throne, and we're glorified. We're glorified because of his presence. The glory that I had with thee before the world was, I've given them thy glory, the glory, my glory. They are glorified. John 17. You should read it. A lot. Oh yeah, we start with the 7 churches and we finish with, the new heaven and the new earth. The new heaven is within you, and the new earth is the way your life is transformed on earth. I'm a new creation, I'm a brand new man. Old things have passed away. I've been born again, more than a conqueror, that's what I am. I'm a new creation, I'm a brand new man. Thank you, Dad.